Welcome back to the motherfucking podcast, guys.
Hi.
I'm Lacey.
I'm Stephanie.
And this is Oh Here We Go.
Yay.
Today we're bringing on an artist, a musician.
And
Stephanie's friend and also now mine.
We bring on Borahm Lee, who I have developed a friendship with since moving to Denver. He dates one of my best friends, and just through getting to know him fluidly throughout the scene here, and then closer and closer as I became closer with his girlfriend, he's just blown my mind. I have said, obviously he's a part of so many amazing bands, and he's with musicians, and he's so incredible in that space. But as I've said to my other friends, I'm like, I want him on just solely because every time I speak to him, he blows my mind about something.
Yeah.
The way he thinks about things is totally different, but also how I would think about it if I, were able to. And I don't know. It's just he has done a lot. He's experienced a lot. He's accomplished a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought he would be such a cool guest to have on. And, he's part of so much music that Lacey and I love and need so much. And, we didn't even really know he was part of it at the time. We not grew up, but we were heavily influenced by Pretty Lights, and he was part of making that music, part of that process. And I mean, it just was kind of just an honor to sit with him at the table and to speak with him on these things, and to learn from him, and not only just talk about music, but his upbringing, and talk about the discriminations and stuff that he has faced in and out of the music industry, and just how he caused us to look at things differently in that aspect, and what to do when you meet these types of people and stuff. This was just it
was really mind-opening in a lot of different ways.
I think my mouth was open the whole time. I was just like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I like that it was more informative on a lot of different topics, as far as jazz and the history of that, and how making music, that process, and the growth of that career, and growing up Korean in New York City and in the 80s. And just, I don't know, it's really informative. And I was just looking at him like, wow.
I know,
and he's really well spoken. I loved that about him.
Yeah, he said at the end, he's like, I talked y'all's ear off, and I was just like, yeah, thank you. And I know, we have this podcast as a space where we want it to be a wide spectrum of conversations. And I think bringing artists on, it's not just about what they're doing or creating, it's the background of them. Because when you're put in this space of entertainment or art or music or anything, chances are you have way more things happening to you along the way. Your journey is probably a lot different. Your experiences are a lot different. You have more to say. And so bringing artists on to me is super important, just because there is this umbrella with them. There is the mental health. There is the creating. There is the stories. And it's just I don't know, this was definitely one of those where it wasn't just bringing Borahm on and talking about what he's done. It's bringing Borahm on and talking about everything that he's been through, Kanye West, everything. I'm just damn, cute.
Damn. Yeah, we kind of lucked out on him.
I know. This was a really good interview. Our intro is going to be kind of short, you guys, so we hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Love you.
Oh my God. Okay, well, on that note, let's get into the episode.
Okay. Y'all, I'm so rusty. It's been months since we've recorded.
Oh my God.
Okay, without further ado, here we go.
Oh my God.
Welcome back, guys.
Hello.
Today we have a very special guest.
And friend.
Yeah.
We have Borahm Lee on.
Hi, guys.
Full disclosure, just to be upfront, Borahm just had LASIK eye surgery.
Yes.
So
He's bringing on some rock star vibes with the sunglasses.
So
They're still a little sensy, but here.
He's going to be having to put eye drops in every 10 minutes. So, you know. But, yeah, okay, Borahm. Who are you?
Introduce yourself.
Yeah. I hate questions like this.
Well, I'm an artist residing in Colorado. Currently, I'm a musician and a producer. I play piano and keyboards, all kind of keyboards, and I produce music. I play several different kinds of genres of music. And yeah, that's how I would start by defining myself here.
That was good. Damn.
Yeah, that was a swell answer.
I was like, damn, we could really use that. Yeah. Okay, wait, where are you from, though?
I'm from New York City, born and raised. I was born in the Bronx, and I grew up all around the boroughs, all of the boroughs except for Staten Island. I lived there, and I went away for boarding school for a little bit.
Boarding school.
Yeah.
That's like a thing out in that area. Like boarding school's
so
like a
true.
thing.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
parents
private schools.
My parents immigrated from South Korea, and I was born in the States. I was the first one in my family born in this country. And then when I was about 13, my dad got a job offer to go back to Korea. So they posed the question, do you want to roll with us, or do you want to stay here? So I have an older brother and my grandmother who has passed since, but I was living with them, and we kept the house here, and I decided to stay here, but they wanted me to go to boarding school if I was going to stay here. So I went to boarding school. I was in New England, and then I went away to the West Coast for colleges and traveled all around. But then came back to New York after, and then stayed there for another 10 years. So really New York City for really most of my life, but the last 6 or 7 years I haven't been in New York, and it feels like a lot longer because New York is a intense place. There's a lot going on there. So when you spend a little time away, it really feels your life feels different.
Well, how was it growing up in New York City as a kid in the 80s?
Oh, it was amazing. I grew up at a time before they cleaned New York up. So there was like 42nd Street and all around New York there was strip clubs and prostitutes and drugs everywhere. There's graffiti everywhere. It was like really it was a hard place to live, and you have to kind of have you had to have a certain sort of constitution to be able to handle living in NYC. It's not the case anymore. It's all cleaned up. There's not even close to as many homeless on the street, graffiti. So now, all you need really to live there is money. It's obviously an expensive place, but you used to kind of have to be a little tougher to survive there. There was a great deal of homelessness and stuff, and crime and stuff. But along with that came an edge that was, that defined it. And if you could be tough enough to survive there, especially as an artist, there was a lot of inspiration to draw from, and a lot of amazing, art. And it's still happening, but it has changed a bit because it has become cleaned up, and so a lot more rich people feel comfortable living there, and then it kind of has pushed out a lot of the other people,
Well, whenever your parents left, and you're saying your grandmother raised you from then on out, were you still part of like the Korean culture there? Like how?
Yeah, what was it like
they ever
without your parents there?
Yeah,
did you have a lot of freedom?
I went to boarding school at that time.
So right when
boarding school is very little freedoms there, And then I would come home every weekend, not every weekend, but like 1 or 2 weekends, like every few months, but I was really kind of growing up on my own in the boarding school environment. When I was growing up, before I went to high school, my parents went to church, so they were part of this Korean American Catholic community. So like we were all, and every Saturday I would also go to Korean school to learn Korean. There's many Koreans that live in New York City. There's a very, very large population of Koreans. So there's a great community there. But I actually didn't start speaking my first words until I was 3 years old.
Wow.
Because and that's really late.
Well, no, like Korean or
any word at all.
Oh, wow,
and
okay.
it's because I was growing up in NYC, but also in a Korean household. So I was hearing Korean and English all around me, and which are two very different languages. So I think as an infant, I was just kind of like, well, what am I supposed to say?
I would just be like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna just like, fuck it. That would be so hard. Wow.
But I'm definitely thankful that I have a different like sort of cultural root to draw from, not only being American and being from New York, but also being Korean and being able to speak several languages is definitely something I'm thankful for.
So your parents aren't here anymore. Have they been back since?
They've been back since, and they still visit every now and then. My father's considering, maybe coming back into Cali to retire, but they've been back in Korea since. And yeah, they're happier there for their careers, and yeah, my mom's an artist.
Oh wow, okay.
So she was an opera singer when I was growing up, and then she's an actor in Korea.
What?
Wow.
Wow.
Opera?
So did you just grow up around music?
Yeah, I was forced to play music. I really didn't want to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most Asian parents, make their kids learn either like piano or violin,
Oh, wow.
And it's just supposed to enrich their lives and make them smarter, which it does. But I wanted to go all the way with it, and so they forced me to play for my whole childhood, and that not only meant getting a lesson every week with a teacher, but also having 2 recitals a year,
Oh, so they forced you to play music.
Yeah, no, they're like, it's non-compulsory. It's like you have to do it, and I hated it, and I was playing classical. I was forced to play classical music too, so it's not like I was able to really vibe with it at the time. But what really made me learn the shit was having 2 concerts a year, because I could just fuck off with the teacher, but if you don't want to look like an asshole in front of a bunch of people, playing.
Right.
It's like your turn to play, and like all the students are there, so you don't want to look like a dummy, so you want to learn the piece and be able to play it.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have those sort of 2 deadlines every year, then I would have just been like not practiced ever.
Oh my God. It's kind of like if your dad made you play football or something, like
right. I mean, anytime someone is forcing you to do something, it's not enjoyable.
Oh, but
it's kind of like eat your vegetables. You don't want Brussels sprouts when you're a kid. But I love Brussels sprouts now.
I love that shit now.
But then when I told them when I was like 17 or something like that, like I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. They're like, no.
Oh, and
yeah. At what point did you finally start to feel like, damn, I like this?
Yeah, like around 16, 17, and then they I told them, I was like, yeah, I want to be a musician, and they were like, the slow motion, like, no.
But they didn't want that when they like.
Well, exactly. They, like I said, like they was just supposed to enrich me. It was just supposed to like make me smarter and like more cultured and stuff. They didn't want me to pursue it as a career. They wanted me to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or something. Go to Ivy League school and like
Wow.
The dream that
every parent
that they think is the dream.
Mm-hmm. Do not let her jump on this. Oh my God, don't hear it. Okay. Wait, so did you have, and there it is.
We got a patty on the table.
Get her off.
I love cats.
She just
Maybe she can sit in your lap.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll just let Patty sit there, I guess. Did you have any major influences, like teachers helping you?
Sure. I mean, I had a music teacher in boarding school. I had my only like teacher that I was. This cat's so cute. It's very distracting.
Get her away. She's gonna push a button.
Last time she pushed the laugh track.
Yeah. So
my music teacher in high school was definitely very influential. His name was Dave Overthrow, and I remember smoking weed with him.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really cool. But it happened obviously off campus. He was doing a gig in the city, and we came down to see him, and he was outside a gig, and I was like a sophomore in high school, and he was like smoking a roach, and he passed to us, and I always thought it was the coolest. It was the coolest moment in my life to that moment, But I didn't really have that many friends in boarding school. It was mostly male boarding school. It was very sports oriented, and it was a Catholic boarding school. So I just didn't fit in as a minority, as an Asian American, and as someone that didn't excel at sports. So I just didn't really fit in. I wasn't really smoking weed or anything yet. So it was kind of like, like most high schools, kind of like you're a jock or you're stoner, and wasn't in either group. Yeah, I didn't have a group. I didn't find my circle of friends yet. So I really found a solace in just playing the piano, because that was something that I had done my whole life, So I was familiar with how to play and reading music and everything. But then around that time, I discovered jazz music, and I really fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, this is just something that just like lit up my whole life, and that I completely wanted to immerse myself in. So,
wow.
The piano, it had always been my friend, even though it was like the relationship started out as sort of like rocky, and then it was like when didn't really have any friends in boarding school, I was like, this is, it became my best friend and spent lots of time.
Aww, I wanted one of those.
Wow, that's just cute that like you were forced to play it and you were like, ugh, and then you were put in a position where you were in boarding school and didn't have anybody to really like connect with, and little piano you could connect with. Cute.
Yeah, I mean, because I didn't grow up like around instruments or like
I've never played an instrument. I played the kazoo.
Yeah, and I wish I did. I mean, it's just like expression comes out differently. I mean, you gravitated towards photography. I gravitated towards like acting growing up. Like it just, everything comes out differently.
Having a form of expression is very important, and like when you don't have that, whatever it is, it could be sports, it could be acting, it could be with a piano, but if you don't have that, it could be very stifling, and just having a creative outlet, a way that you can express yourself that goes farther than how you can speak or how you can dress, because quite often at that time, like you're not good at that. Like you don't know how to dress, or like you're not, you're clumsy with your words,
Mm-hmm. What do people do if they can't express themselves? What happens to them?
That's why we're all in therapy. Damn.
I know, but what are those people doing?
But it's kind of like like an oyster with the pearl, right? So it's like the pearl forms because it's irritated because there's like a piece of sand in it, and it's like becomes irritated, and then it becomes a pearl, like a diamond, like, and it's like, so like almost like the longer, if you go with like, you don't want to like have a constipated feeling where you can't express yourself and just like holding something inside, but if you can make it through and finally find that outlet to do it, then it can be like a really giant outpouring of expression at that point. So, it's just like, good things come to those who wait. And it's like, you don't want to be somebody that like peaks or gels too early. You know what I mean? And and then there's always more waves to come and stuff like that. But like, for people who like I talk to, they're like, I haven't found my calling. I don't know what I want to do yet. It's like the journey part is like, it's the greatest part of it, the fact that you haven't found it, that you're still looking for it, is an amazing thing actually, because the world is so exciting. It's like if everything was set and you knew the answer and how your life was going to play out, life would be horrible.
It's so boring.
Exactly. So like the unpredictable nature of things makes things exciting.
Yeah. Well, did you go, I mean, I know you went to boarding school and they had classes, but did you go to school for this at all? For music or producing?
Yeah, after boarding school, I decided to go to. I decided to go to school for psychology. Oh. And I wanted to do music therapy, and
cute.
And went to this place called Reed College for a year. Really good school in the Pacific Northwest. And then I went there for a year, and then I was like, you know what, I just want to focus on music. So I transferred to a school in Seattle, and it was a conservatory there, and I studied music there for a few years, and then that's when I came back to New York, and I finished college in New York with a degree in jazz composition. And so the third college I went to in 5 years was the City College of New York, and it was a city school was great, also a great experience.
Wow. So I guess, was jazz the first style that you were drawn to? Yeah,
it's like I had all the classical music learning, and it was just like in me, but I never loved it. I love it now. I do love classical music now, but I never like fell in love with it. But jazz, I fell in love with it, and I loved everything about it. Also relating with a minority experience. Obviously, jazz music is Black American music, just obviously I had a different upbringing. It's like my minority experience is nothing compared to what a black person was, especially growing up in the 40s and 50s and stuff. But I could still relate, you know, feeling, having experienced racism and feeling like a minority, and just, you know, looking for a way to express outside of sort of just my physical being and my skin color and the way I look and everything. And it's such a powerful form of expression. And, you know, for me, you know, there's not that many things that I feel proud to be American about, you know. It's like, what, so great. But that's definitely like, for me, like the proudest, you know, the music that we've created here, you know, the blend of culture and stuff, but in particular like jazz music, you know. And you know, yeah, there's definitely artists that don't even like to call it jazz, you know, because that's a word that other people sort of had described to it. So, you know, people, I mean, I like to call it Black American music because that's kind of what it is, you know, because that's where it comes from. And but we could still call it jazz. It's just it's interesting to note, and it's important to note that some people aren't even into the word, you know.
Wow, I had no idea about that. That people were that was controversy or controversial.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We kind of want to go back into the music therapy part that you said. Sure. What is that?
Music therapy is a relatively new field, and it's where therapists work specifically with music, with patients, for instance, who have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, or have a hard time expressing their emotions, and you know, and they let them like bang on a drum or play on an instrument, and it helps them. Or people with Alzheimer's like can't remember anything, and they listen to a song, and they all of a sudden they have all these. They remember all the stuff because it triggers, you know, it triggers. People with Parkinson's that can't move, like there's a therapy where they have them moving slowly with a rhythm, a beat every day, like really slowly, and over time incrementally they'll increase the tempo, so making it a little bit faster, so they move a little bit more. But I mean, we use music therapy every day. Every time you put on music, when you know, it's therapeutic. You go to a show, it's therapy. You know what I mean? This is just more specialized, you know, where it's just like the therapist is using music one-on-one with patients, with kids, with people with certain psychological traumas.
Mm-hmm. Has it ever? Well, okay, yeah. I just answered my own question. I was about to be like, has it ever been used for like, as far as like relationship therapy? But then I'm like, well, if you go to a show with like a loved one, like, or in any other way.
I still feel like I'm doing music therapy, just kind of on a bigger, you know, because I play shows for people, and I do believe that it is therapeutic, and I try to share, you know, and I share my music as much as I can, and I know that it can help, you know, maybe brighten someone's day, you know.
Yeah.
And so in a way, I was kind of like, you know, because it. Obviously, like, if you know, being a music therapist, you work one-on-one with somebody or with a group of patients, and it's like it takes a lot of patience too, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I realized I kind of wasn't really built that way, and like that wasn't really for me, and I wanted to still help people through my music, but just in a different way, you know.
Oh, okay. Are your parents supportive now?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of like come around. They're like, okay, like it's working. I mean, I'm
They're like, okay, it's working.
You know, it's a strange relation with. I mean, I'm 42 now, you know, and I've been playing music professionally since I was 20.
Oh wow! So,
but in that time, my parents have only seen me play like a handful of times. You know, like I have performed with some pretty prominent artists, you know, who they don't know. You know, I try to tell them I play with Kanye West, and they're like, yeah. So,
like I don't.
How does that like affect you?
I mean, I'm very thankful for everything that they've given me, and I'm very understanding too. It's like, wow, I shouldn't. It's not like they need to know it, or like they got to go to school so they know who all these pop stars are.
Yeah.
It's like no, like that's just the way that they grew up, and you know, in addition to having a generational gap, I do have a cultural gap with them, you know, but. You know, as you get older, you realize how important it is to have a good relationship with your parents, because not only is it because they're your family, but also it's like you learn about yourself, and you realize who you are when you when you're close with them and when you learn about them. Of course we're different people than our parents, but like we all come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And even though I might have gotten a lot more nurture than nature, I still, that's still, there's still your DNA.
Yeah.
And I'm also a believer of like you not only do you carry on, the beneficial, the positive aspects of everything, like, generationally, you also trauma too, whether you know it or not, whether like you've heard the stories or not, like it's in you and it gets passed down,
Yeah.
good things and bad things, but all those things need to get worked out,
Right.
And the more that you connect with your parents, as hard as it can be, I mean, I have difficulty too. My parents are very religious, and it's it's a block for me to communicate with them because I'd like to try to have open conversations about things, but for them there's kind of like one path, and
Yeah.
but still having to work it out and being ready for the challenge, and welcoming it is sort of the right attitude,
Well, did you face any discrimination in and or out of the music industry?
Music is thankfully one of those places where it's not as prevalent as much, I would say like probably being a female and being a musician is probably harder just because it's such a male dominated place, but it's one of the first places where where like segregation was broken and stuff, in this country, where whites and blacks had to be separated. Like music concerts were like one of the first places where people were like, what, fuck that, like we're just all gonna dance together and do this thing. And like when you're in, to be honest, when you're really feeling the shit, you close your eyes, and like you're not really trying to see like if they're white or if they're gay or if they're woman, or it's like, like I'm just like close my eyes and enjoying the music, and that's, it's the beauty of it. It takes you outside of your physical being. I mean, of course, like being on the road and touring all around the United States, I experienced a great deal of it. I used to wear flat brim hats, and the reason why I started wearing them was not because it was the style, it was because when we were in the middle of nowhere, I didn't want to catch the wrong kind of attention, so I just wanted to sort of hide my face.
Wow.
And when we were in wherever, just sort of middle America and
That area.
yeah, just places away from cities, and I would get mean stares or people, aggressive energy. I just, the flat brim hat like covers basically half of your head, and they just wear it real low, and sort of fly under the radar. You know what I mean?
Did you like grow up like with this your entire life?
Well, New York City is obviously the most, culturally, one of the most culturally diverse places on the planet.
Yeah.
So didn't really experience it. If you're a racist in New York, you'll be super exhausted every day because you have so many people to hate.
Oh wow!
So you just be really tired. So that's why everybody just like New Yorkers are grumpy. So they just hate each other equally, which is nice. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I hate everybody equally.
I didn't realize. I mean, and this is part of the problem, how much of a privilege it is to. I've never thought about hiding myself. I have thought about like being a woman at a gas station in the middle of nowhere at night, and I'm like,
yeah,
but that's still so different. And
I mean, and I was able to do it. Like if you're black, like wearing a hat wouldn't do you any good. Like they would still know you were black and give you a hard time, But I mean, I didn't really start to feel those things until I started to travel around the country, because NYC is like, it's its own little melting pot. So I always felt cool there. Didn't really experience, but like as soon as, I mean, we would take some family trips, of course, and we'd experience it there. But then like really like first, individually when I was just going on the road and touring and just driving around all the country, driving around the whole country, that's when I really started to feel it.
I mean, as a white woman growing up, being from America, like I've never experienced something like that. And I'm just thinking, like, for the people that have and do and still do, I feel like if that were to happen to me, there would be like such like a burning anger. And like, I just think it's, you know, like the people that experience racism, I'm like, how do y'all keep it cool? You know, like there's such like an anger behind,
I cry over anything.
Like how do you manage to like, I guess like move on or like forgive them or like roll off your shoulders? Like what is that like?
Well, there's a collective minority understanding that, hey, it's not just happening to me. Hey, it's happening to all. Hey, it's been happening to people for generations. So it's not like I'm not gonna just get in a hissy fit and be like, why is this happening? Like, I understand that it's been happening for years, for decades, for centuries, and there's just sort of like, you know, understanding that this is your life. This is the way it is for us, you know, and it's worse for other. I mean, it's like I was saying before, like being a minority, you know, there's just different minorities and how they're perceived and accepted. It's like, and when I can compare it to the Black American experience, it's not even close. Like you're a Black American and like you're jogging down the street, people chase you down and shoot you and kill you, you know, because they think you're a threat, you know, it's dangerous. It's like, you know, people might, you know, like, you know, I mean, obviously there has a spike in the Asian hate crimes and stuff in the recently, unfortunately.
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, I mean, and that's awful too. Like, I mean, it's even happening in New York City, but it's the general perception and how we're viewed and stuff. It's just, there's just, you know, when I can compare it to like what my Black friends can go through, it's like not even close, you know, to how bad it is. So like, in a way, I'm like, okay, well, this is tough, but like it's not nearly as tough as what other groups are going through. And you know, when I encounter it, I kind of like classify in kind of like these different encounters. You know, you encounter someone that there's a person that I would encounter that is trying to be friendly and they say something ignorant or maybe really ignorant, but they're not trying to hate or they actually maybe want to be friends, you know, but that's just what they know. That's just what they know. So that kind of person, I try to take the minute to be like, hey, you know, I know you're like maybe trying to be friendly and cool, like, but this is what's up, basically, you know. And I try to say it in a way that's understandable to that specific person, you know. And then there's the kind of person that's obviously just wants to be an asshole, and that's the energy that I need to direct back at them, you know. And then there's the third type, which is like the dangerous type, which is like they're trying to hurt you, and like you just try to get away from those people as quickly as possible, you know. Oh, wow. So there's these kind of different. They're like the people that need like the stern talking to you that need to fuck off and be like, you know, they need to be taught a little lesson. There's the other people that need to, you know, be shown a little love and be like educated and be like, you know what. And then there's the people that are just scary and that, you know.
Wow, I never thought about.
So there's these kind of different types, and like just try to leave the world a better place than where you found. So like the next Asian person that gets encountered by this person, maybe they're gonna think twice, and maybe I can maybe like make life a little bit better for that next person that gets, because there's probably somebody that did that for me early, you know, like or previously down the road to that person, and be like, you know what, actually it's not cool to call this person Oriental, or it's not good to, you know, to make fun of their eyes, or it's not good to, you know. Like I've just heard all kinds of like ridiculous things like throughout my life that nothing really surprises me anymore. So I just try to gauge sort of the right response in the right time, you know.
Wow. Well, damn. Thank you for letting us in on that. That was like,
yeah.
Wow. Well, damn. I guess.
Listen, it's not all heavy though. I mean, I feel blessed, even though it's like hard. Like I feel blessed because I've had to have this sort of other experience and the hardships that come with it, and I feel like it's just made me, I don't know, it's just made me more of a diverse person and understand things sort of more and from different perspectives, you know.
Yeah. Well, whenever you mentioned you would kind of experience it more so when you were touring, when did you start picking up the momentum with your career? Because I know you mentioned Kanye West, and I know you've toured with Lauryn Hill. Did you experience it on those kind of tours? And two, were those like moments when you started realizing like, oh, this is really what I'm doing with my career?
Yeah, sort of the two separate questions to answer. Those bigger tours, definitely not, because they were so gigantic that we weren't like we would just fly from, it was all large cities.
Oh, yeah,
just
you would be taking a
yeah, but
bus.
like I before I did that, I toured. My first tour was with this band called Topaz.
Okay.
And he's my friend. He's based in Austin, Texas, and we just we're just a small little band in a 15-passenger van with a little trailer, and
Cute.
just hit every Tuscaloosa, every little place all over the country, and that's where I would experience those things. But yeah, the bigger tours were just major cities, and I mean, occasionally what happened here, like I was on tour with the Fugees in France, and we were in Nice, France, and I encountered racism there, and
Wow.
some, especially if people see you doing like you thriving, and like you're a minority, and like you're a grumpy white person, they'll hate on you even more, like if they saw me with like a pretty girl or something like that, and they're like, why is this guy with with our woman, and stuff like that. Yeah. Shit like that happens, or just like, or like dress nice or whatever, like people will get their extra hate on when they see you thriving,
Yeah.
In terms of my career, it's like just being in New York obviously triggered everything, just being there, and where everything's converging, and all the it's all happening there. So,
well, how was it whenever you were touring, like with Kanye West and Lauryn Hill? How did you get those gigs?
So with Lauryn Hill, I just being on the scene and stuff like that, I got a call for the audition, and it was at like Sony Studios, and there was like 10 other keyboard players, and I was slated to go last, I guess, and everyone was really, really, really good. And then the guy right before me was like amazing. And I was like, okay, like I didn't get the gig like this guy. Cause I could hear everybody auditioning. I remember this clearly. And then the guy like, was right second to last, cause I was last. He was like incredible. And I was like, okay, like this guy definitely fucking got the gig, I was like, yeah. So I was just kind of like, I was just like, I wasn't discouraged, but I was kind of like not nervous anymore at that point. And I was just like, oh, well, this guy got the gig, so let me just whatever, like just go in there and just do my thing. And I played for her. And she was on speakerphone. Oh. So the Sony executives were there, and then they had her on. They had their landline with the speaker thing, and she heard me. She just listened to me play through the speaker. And then she asked me questions about my background, and she's like, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And I just talked with her. And then I got the gig, and I was like amazed. I was like, wow, the other guy's like so good. Like, wow. But I guess she was interested in my cultural background and what I'd say. And then maybe she liked how I played too, probably some of that. And,
probably.
But it was amazing. I went down and I worked with her down in Miami where she resides. And I recorded some music with her. One of the things I recorded is on the Passion of the Christ soundtrack. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, yes.
So there was a soundtrack, an accompanying soundtrack, when she did a song on it, which I'm actually really proud of. And then I toured with her, and then we played the Democratic National Convention together when Al Gore was running for president.
Wow.
We flew around, did a bunch of gigs, and then they did a Fugees reunion tour. So then I did that, and then I played with a lot of sort of hip hop and reggae artists. I played with Modest Yahoo, I think, right after that, and then I worked with Kanye West after that.
How was that?
And Kanye West gig, a friend of mine, Jeff Basker, he's the guy that produced 808s and Heartbreaks, and he was the original keyboard player, and he's one of the most successful producers like ever now. And he became so successful doing his thing that he's like, I'm not gonna play keyboards. I do want to do the gig. And I was like, yeah, sure, So my rehearsal, so there was no audition because I just was given the gig from the other keyboard players, my friend. And the rehearsal, so the guy that's his musical director is this guy, Mike Dean, who still plays with him. And, so we're about to play our first show, which was the Essence Festival in New Orleans. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to have a rehearsal, and Mike's like, yeah, just come to the studio. So Mike's in there, and Mike smokes copious amounts of weed and blunts. So my rehearsal was just like smoking like 100 blunts with him, and he's like, just smoke this. I'm like, well, what are we gonna go over any music? He's like, nah, man, just like get high with me. I was like, okay. So I was like, I was like super blurry. So then comes time for the first show, and the Essence Festival it was at the Superdome, so it's 80,000 people there.
Wow.
My first show with him. he's the headliner. Of course, Shaka Khan plays right before him, and the crowd is it's an older black crowd, you know, sophisticated older black crowd in New Orleans. So, you know, definitely a kind of a crowd to be nervous for. It's my first show ever playing with him. I've never been so nervous in my life, and I don't think I've ever been as nervous since, you know.
Oh, wow.
It was so much pressure, you know, I felt, and I didn't have one rehearsal with him, never met the guy, you know. Get up down stage. It's just four of us. It's Kanye, me, Mike Dean. Mike Dean's multi-instrumentalist, and he plays guitars and basses, and he's got a couple keyboards. I was just playing keyboards, and then there's a DJ, so it's four. And we played, and the gig went well, and then he's got a song, you know, the one with the piano.
Runaway?
Yeah, you know, and he plays it, and then at the end, you know, he kind of, you know, this is a time where he's kind of like doing his rants and stuff. There's at the end, he likes to just kind of like vamp out on the outro, so that's just me and him, and I'm playing Runaway. I'm just playing the chords to it, you know, and I'm playing it, and I'm playing. He's like on a 20-minute rant, and I'm just looking at him, like, and he's just like talking about all the shit, like, you know, some people start booing, they're like, shut up, you know. But then
shut up.
Yeah, you know, it's like an older rocker. They want to see like the hits and stuff like that. And, like, you know, and he's like talking about, you know,
like where we can find that.
I mean, I'm sure it's all over YouTube.
So
then at some point, I'm like playing, and I guess like I stopped playing. I'm like kind of like zone out because it's been like 25 minutes, and it's like, okay, playing the same thing over. And he looks at me, he's like, "Yo, stop playing," and I'm like, "Oh shit," you know. So I stopped playing, and then he like finishes with like on his MPC, and then like I totally thought I was like getting fired after that, you know. He's like had to tell me like on stage in front of all these people, like, yo, chill, you know.
Wow.
And I was like, so like after the gig, I was just like I felt like crying. I was just like, oh, you know, I lost the gig, and I totally thought that I was gonna get fired, and I didn't, and then I got hired, played it. And then the next like couple gigs, and then he like came up to me, he talked to me, he's like, oh, you know, so what's your name? I was like, told me, and he's like, how do you pronounce it? And he like took some time, and then
how was he pronouncing it?
You know, he was just he didn't mess it up. He was just like, oh, how do you say that again? You know, he like asked me to say it a couple times, and then we had a long conversation about how I should button my shirt and roll my sleeves, and you know, because was wearing all white at that time, and he got these really expensive, super expensive, nice shirts and stuff like that. But then like he purposely ripped them, and like, you know, like he had of course a tailor and stuff like that. He'd fray them and stuff, so like of course like I couldn't like wear it after that, you know. Like, and like these super tight white jeans, he like I was like hard to breathe in them. Like,
didn't one of his lasers almost burn through?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's at this other show. One of the lasers were not mounted correctly, so in the middle of the show I felt this like pinching in my back, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And then it was like smoke, and there was a hole that was happening in my jacket, and it started like burn my skin, and I was like, I told the tech to get over here, and they like repositioned the laser.
Oh my! I didn't realize that lasers could.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they have a laser technician at every show that's their dedicated job, because they like hit somebody in the eye, like they can go blind and everything.
Well, there's like I mean those are like at every show now.
Yeah.
I didn't know that those were like dangerous.
There's like you need to be licensed to be able to set that up. Yeah, it's like they're powerful things. That's why, you know, when all the kids are on the drugs, they're like, whoa, this is so cool, you know.
When all the kids are on the drugs.
Those damn kids.
Well, I know that's obviously, you said that was the most nervous you had been and probably have been since, but when did you play at Red Rocks for the first time, and how was that feeling?
I played at Red Rocks many times, and the very first time was with Break Science, my band, and we were opening up for somebody. But the first time that it felt the whole power of it, I was playing with Pretty Lights, and we were headlining it, you know, which I did like 6 years. We did it, you know.
What year was that? The first time?
2014.
Wow.
Yeah, and we did like 2 nights every time too, and you know, so I was at nighttime, and you know, it was like the main event, and obviously Pretty Lights being from Colorado, it's just always very emotional, you know, like for the whole crowd and for everybody. And one year we did with the symphony orchestra, and it was just super magical every every time. And Red Rock's such a special place because you could see everybody's face, and every seat in the house is good, you know?
Yeah.
So like when you're on stage in the lowest point, everybody's sort of, above you and looking down, and it's just like, and then, obviously like the place like looks like biblical or something like that. It looks like Moses comes down with the 10 Commandments. Like, it's like
the seas parting.
Yeah, totally. It's like a natural made concert. It's like, really naturally made amphitheater.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite amphitheater place that you've played?
I mean, definitely that's other. I mean, another beautiful place is the Hollywood Bowls. Really played there. Really, really amazing. Played some really awesome places in Europe as well. But I mean, I would have to say, I definitely played Red Rocks more times than any of those other places. And, it's like when you drive up there, it feels like it's like the land of dinosaurs. Kind of, you know what I mean? And then you get there and you're like, well, this is one of the most unique, amazing places. The Gorge is also really, really cool.
Always wanted to.
Yeah, super cool. It's remote, you know what I mean? But that's venue-wise. But in terms of city-wise, definitely New Orleans is definitely the
okay.
Where we'll be taking a trip soon.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited.
But it's the we were talking about jazz earlier. New Orleans is the before New York and every LA and everything. New Orleans is it. Like the that's where the port for the slave trade was, and they had Congo Square was there, and so they would give a day of rest for all slaves, and they would gather together in Congo Square in New Orleans, and they would play drums, and they would like have and then European instruments started getting introduced there because the Spanish and the French were there. So there's just this incredible melting pot that was happening with African culture there, and then the African culture got hold of the Western instruments and stuff, and then you have jazz music, and then Louis Armstrong and all this. So and New Orleans is how all Muslims go to Mecca, every year they make a pilgrimage. It's like musicians make a pilgrimage for Jazz Fest and to New Orleans. It's like a place where it's like you recharge. It's like this fountain.
Damn.
Yeah, wow.
I'm sure you guys have both been there.
I haven't been to Jazz Fest.
You've been to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like no
it's
other.
like no other place. You wouldn't say there's that many culturally rich places in this country, but that place is it. The architecture, like you could feel it in the streets and in the buildings, and it's older than this country, because people, like the French and the Spanish had settled there before the Declaration of whatever,
Yeah. Well, to kind of get back to like Denver and everything, or Colorado in general, is Pretty Lights what brought you to Colorado?
Definitely the community and the movement that he started was certainly a big factor. Like my band Break Science, we our biggest fan base, even though we're both from New York, our biggest fan base is Colorado.
Okay. Has it always been like that?
Yeah, the Electro Soul sort of movement is Pretty Lights started. It's, Colorado is really the and also my management team and my booking agent were also based here, living here. So our biggest fan base, and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's very hard to complain here. It's like you can complain about lots of stuff, but here it's like, okay, like it's dry. Okay, it's not the most culturally diverse place either, but people are really friendly. Like people just like to smoke weed and go snowboarding and go to Red Rocks and like
everything's.
There's not that kind of learned hatred racism that you do feel in other states.
Right.
That's like Civil War and the South and stuff like that. You don't really feel that here, because it wasn't really happening here,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard, and I've been here like it's almost going on 7 years, like 6 years, and it's obviously life slowed down a lot, obviously coming from the city, NYC, but I welcome it, and I do miss the ocean, but that's the only two, I travel enough, so I get to be around it, but
yeah,
it's a special place, and definitely feel lucky to be here,
Well, how'd you start working with Pretty Lights? Like how'd y'all get connected?
Well, we got connected we were assigned to his label. So he had a label, Pretty Lights Music.
Wow.
Yeah, and on that label was Michael Manor, Grammatic, us, and Supervision, and Paul Basic, a couple of other acts. And then he wanted to expand. You know, he had always played with a drummer, and he worked with this one guy, Corey, and then that ended, and then Adams did a tour with him. Adam Deitch, who's my partner in Break Science, and then from there he's like, you know, I want to have the whole band, so a whole band. So there's been different incarnations of the band. I've been in the different, you know, all the incarnations of the band, but the first incarnation was the Analog Future Band, and that had 2 horn players. Benny Bloom was on trumpet, and Scott Flynn, who also plays with Odessa, he was on trombone, and then Eric Krasnow was playing guitar.
Okay.
Wow.
And it was me and Adam.
What a little squad.
Yeah. And Chris Carnes as well, whose birthday it is today. So happy birthday, Chris Carnes.
Cute.
Sneak that in there. And that was the band. And then it morphed again, and then we got another keyboard player, and then it morphed again after that. So it's had some different incarnations, but I'm actually we're gonna be working together when we go to New Orleans to play that show. I'm really excited to continue to build. It's been a little hiatus, obviously, but
Yeah, well, yeah, like I want to ask, like, I mean, we have so many questions, just because it's like, is Pretty Lights, is that its own genre of music, basically?
well, I definitely think he started a genre of music, which is this kind of electro soul, you know, thing. Like he definitely invented a sound, you know. I mean, of course, coming from other places and being influenced, but like he definitely like got in his own lane, you know.
So fucking cool.
And not only that, he got in his own lane to such a degree that he created it became the lane became big enough for other people to kind of get on. And we definitely like, we have our own vibe too, but we definitely like very influenced by his approach and his discoveries, you know.
Well, what was it like being part of creating a new sound like that, or just a new genre lane?
Oh, it's so amazing. You know, and music's kind of always been like that for me. It's where it's like this discovery part has always kind of been more of my calling, rather than like, playing jazz. I always wanted to be the best jazz musician I could be, and like, of course, like in New York and all around, it's just like there's this all these other players that were like played so much more fluidly better, playing jazz music, playing this traditional style, and the classical music and whatever. So it's like there are people that represent that, and that's their calling. But like my calling has always been like finding something new. You know what I mean? Like sonically and genre wise, and you know, like looking for something new. You know, and all the while like drawing in from, you know, the tradition and drawing in from all the things that happened before, you know, and paying homage and respect to it, you know.
Yeah, I feel like when I listen to that music, it's like jazz meets psychedelics. And, you know, when it comes to that writing process,
It's like weird. It's
like,
like,
what's
in a
that
good way.
like? Yeah. And then are psychedelics a part of the writing process?
I mean, psychedelics has been part of the life process.
Yeah, I love that.
It's a way.
You know, the way that I feel about psychedelics is kind of like planets and orbits and stuff. And you know, at this point in my life, like, I mean, definitely, like there was a time when I was experimenting heavily with it. You know, just never overboard, but definitely like was much more investigative about it and just much more like excited. And then like it subsided for a while, but definitely like I feel like I was saying, like planets, orbits. So, you know, like things come into your orbit and then they kind of leave for a while, but then they come back around, you know. And
wow.
you know, because like the thing about psychedelics is like you have to know when you've sort of learned the lesson, and you need time to let it sink in and absorb. And then when you realize that there's nothing else I'm learning from it anymore for right now, and I need to like chill, you know, because you know the mind is fragile, and like, you know, if you sort of partake in it the wrong way, it could be detrimental too, you know. To you. But it certainly has opened my mind up so much. And
do you ever write while tripping?
you know, like it's been a while since since I've like forayed back into the world, like little bits here and there, but like to do like a serious journey, you know. But usually like the writing happens afterwards for me, you know, when it's happening, and like I just kind of let the experience sink in, and then, you know. But like little ideas, you know, maybe like little voice memos or like, you know, like jotting down ideas and stuff like that when I'm in the, but like if I'm in that state, like looking at a computer, so I mean, of course, like playing piano is different, you know, but like writing, you know, in terms of like writing on a computer and stuff like that, like it's a little boxy of a you know, vehicle.
Yeah.
When you're tripping, you know, but like definitely like playing the piano is definitely the ultimate, you know, playing your instrument when you're, you know, I've definitely like performed and stuff, and some of those Pretty Light shows definitely were psychedelically influenced.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hear like I've been listening to the Break Science album from 2013.
Oh yeah, I know.
I've been really into that.
Oh,
but
thanks.
yeah. And I just remember like when I really got into Pretty Lights a couple of years ago, I would listen to the sounds, and I would just be like, what the fuck is that? Because I don't know how music is made. I don't know how sounds are made. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
I know.
Like I'm
listen,
listening.
it's
How
so
did you
intricate.
do that?
It's so intricate.
That's what he's going for, and that's what and that happened not simply, or that didn't happen by accident. That happened through a whole shitload of work and hours and trying things out and testing things and searching, you know, foraging endlessly for the right sound that's going to fit in that right mode. It's not like he's just like, it just happened right away. Once in a while that happened right away, and the first time you try something, like you're like, this is the sound. But most of the time, especially, you know, knowing how Derek works, it's like, and the way I work, it's like I want to sort of explore all the options to be like, this is the sound that really, like, you know, and it's supposed to evoke that in the listener to be like, wow, this is like something I've never heard before, and it's taking me to this other place.
How do you like make a sound? Like,
there's so many ways,
like,
you know.
how do you get it on there?
Like I could record your voice right now and then process it in a computer with all different programs and plugins and stuff like that.
Wow.
Or there's software that generates sounds, or there's acoustic instruments that can be recorded, you know what I mean? And it's endless, you know, and obviously, you know, just like in photography or everything, like there's the way that you can manipulate it now is so endless, and it's so powerful in terms of like, you can take like a blurry image and make it sharp. You can, you know, you could take all kinds of things and like, and morph it and like manipulate it to such a high degree now, you know. You know, that being said, you know, options and you know, the overabundance of options can be paralyzing, you know, and when you have so many things to choose from and so many things to do, it could stifle your creativity, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that about like everything in life
having
nowadays.
too many options.
Just too much of everything. That's like, it's like social media for instance, you know. It's like it's endless, you know. It's an endless scroll, you know. And at some point, like for me, like, you know, being where I am, it's like I just need to shut it off for a little bit, and I'm like ready to come back in for it. But it's like you need to simplify your life sometimes, you know. You need to limit your options, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to have everything at your disposal all the time, you know. Sometimes like making do with a little, like, can really make your creativity shine, because when you have too many things to pay attention to,
paralyzed by choice.
Yeah, you're scatterbrained, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like shut it down, and then you can foray back into like this giant like void, like this giant thing, and like pull a couple more things, and then like maybe like come back, you know. And I mean, of course, we all have a different approach to it, you know.
Well, I think one of our guests said that too. Tristan said that whenever he was like, "Oh, given too many options, you kind of it actually makes things worse a little bit."
Yeah,
so.
he prefers limitations.
Yeah, well, when it comes to like break science and like Bttrfly Quintet and everything, how is it like working with all those people or just partners in a creative space? Like, what do you guys do if there's an argument or like a disagreement? You know, especially guys.
They're all relationships. You know, we usually arm wrestle. You know, I lose because I'm weak. You know, no, it's worse with guys because you know, men tend to neglect their emotions more, and they tend to be less in touch with them, and less willing to share their feelings, and feel more of a need to be tough, and like put on a face, and it's annoying. I do it all the time.
It's annoying. I do it all the time.
I know myself. But yeah, it's just they're just all relationships, and feeling thankful to be working with people who inspire you is definitely a foundational layer, So no matter how tough things are going, or how annoying or how uncooperative people may seem, like having that foundational layer of, I'm so lucky I'm so blessed that I'm like working with these great artists, with these great people, that when you're in that, when you're in that grateful headspace, like you're usually ready for anything, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You just have to like feel that gratitude, be like, I'm lucky, like, this is a good situation. So when you have that attitude, it's not like this feels shitty, or why am I working with you?
Yeah.
It's like, of course there's going to be moments that are going to be trying, but definitely feel very thankful for all the musicians I work with, and in particular, like this new sort of launch of this new project, the Bttrfly Quintet. It's all musicians I've been working with for decades, for at least a decade, longer with some. And so the band is Dominic Lally, the incredible saxophone player and producer from Big Gigantic, who's a absolute monster virtuoso, saxophone player, and Benny Bloom, another virtuoso trumpet player from Lettuce. Incredible bass player that's local. It's a younger guy that people don't know as much yet, but his name's Hunter Roberts. Of course, the great Adam Deitch, who I've had a partnership for over 15 years, and me, and with these, especially with Dom and with me, and it's like we've played in these bands where it's kind of been more oriented around the production, and the computer has been a big part of it. So in this band, it's just a band. There's no computer. There's just it's just guys, playing, and we get to kind of like play, draw from these things that have been really big parts of our musical background, like jazz music and funk music and hip hop, but make something new with it, but it's all instrumental, and it's all original music.
Yeah, we're gonna see you play at Meow Wolf.
Yeah, that's February 10th. That's our debut gig. We did have a few gigs during the the quarantine times and stuff like that, but we didn't have a name for the band yet. We're kind of in the writing process, so now it's like full launch.
Swing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we kind of want to get into one of our favorite topics, and that's dating.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
What's it been like for you? What's dating been like for you as a musician?
Okay,
well, I mean, there's like a stigma with dating a musician. Do you agree with that stigma?
It's a challenge, I would say. You know what I mean? People are all up in your shit. They know they see what's going on. You're a public figure. So that always makes it harder. You meet a lot of people. You travel a lot, so if you're in a relationship and you don't get to see your partner very often, that can be really challenging, unless you can travel together. But most instances you're not traveling together, and I thought that music was the most challenging thing, but I've come to realize that relationships are, But just like music, it's a challenge that you're stoked about, and that I mean, you want to be, you don't want to be. It's just like music is so challenging. The piano is incredibly challenging, and it's endless how much challenge and how much you can learn. But it's this challenge, like I'm always stoked about it. I'm always like, okay, like this, I'm not playing this right. Oh, I'm frustrated now. Like, oh, like this is not. But yeah, it's tough being being in a relationship, being on the road, being a musician and stuff like that. But I mean, in one way it is, but if you feel blessed to be with the person you are, like then that's how you feel,
Yeah. Do you think that, you know, being in the music industry has made it harder or easier to find your person since you are meeting people all the time?
I mean, well, I found my person, and it's been a few years now, and I feel incredibly lucky to have found my one.
Hi, Ida.
Yeah, my queen Ida, and you know, yeah, like
Would you have met her?
I mean, who knows? You know, who knows if I had met her, if I was a musician or not. But I would say being a musician and having met a lot of people and traveling around, it definitely like gave me like sort of the experiences in terms of knowing what I wanted and knowing what I was looking for in a relationship. And that's just my personal experience, you know. And Ida's father's also a musician too, so she, you know, she can relate and she understands all, you know, the whole lifestyle and everything. And you know, and for also like the pandemic and it grounding everything like really gave us a chance to create our foundation, you know, because nobody was on the road, you know, at that time. So you know, it was sort of a blessing that we had at that time just to be together, you know, and not be traveling.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to dating, what's the one thing that's worked for you?
It's a strange question.
One of them.
Or what do you mean? What worked in what way? Like,
well, like what have you noticed?
What's like an important like takeaway or like
something
like you like looking for like relationship advice? Like
well, when it comes to I think if a musician is having a hard time figuring out how to balance both, what's one thing that has worked for you that, you know,
I mean,
it could be for anybody.
I mean, definitely like being upfront, not jumping the gun, like not being like trying to commit too early, even though you want to be, you know, like definitely like enjoying and figuring out how to enjoy your solo time. I mean, of course we all get lonely, you know, of course we all want that companionship. Of course we don't want to die alone. Like, let's not be fucking dramatic, you know? It's just like, you know,
trust the process.
Yeah. And then it's just like, you know, like just thinking about like the end of the road. It's like, okay, I need to be with her. I don't want to be like, it's like, okay, like I get it. We all go through that. But like you meet somebody and then you're like, we want to hang out all the time. It's like, you're going to hang out and like, just like creating that desire to like, you know, instead of feeling it so quickly right away is like, I think that's an important part. And like spending a lot of time, like, you know what, I want to see you tonight, but like, I'm going to like do my thing, you do your thing. And then like the next day I'm going to want to see you more. You know what I mean? And then like, kind of building up that vibe, just and not jumping into it too, like where it's like, you know, I understand people want to be committed and people don't want to like be like, well, like be unhealthy and be sleeping around. So like, of course that is completely logical, but at the same time, like, don't like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. First of all, you know. So if the shit's going good, like, don't be like, okay, we need to take to the next level.
Yeah, it sounds like also keeping like a level of your own independence to some degree.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
like
saying.
A flow
it's like
to it.
You can't love somebody if you can't love yourself, you know. So it's like you got to always, you know, and like just music has been such a blessing for me because it's really how I understood how to like love, you know, appreciate myself, and like that was an entryway, you know, into like loving myself and be like, okay, I love what I do, and like, you know, like appreciating myself, but like you can't like expect to like be able to be in a healthy, loving relationship if you can't, you know, set that up with yourself and you can't establish that with yourself, then you're in no position to do it with somebody else. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, then just have a casual relationship and just like do your thing. And if you need to fulfill your needs and stuff like that. But like, don't try to like create this thing that's not ready to be created yet, you know? We all want to do that though. We all want to like rush into things and like create this like fairy tale thing, you know? But like, yeah, like going back to like the fact that it's not figured out and like that it's unpredictable, even though it can be unsettling, is also like magical because it like makes things open, you know?
Like magical. Wow.
Yeah, it's like the not having everything set in stone, like makes like life like wondrous and mysterious too, you know?
Yeah, there's the curiosity that's still like alive.
Do you believe that, I know that you, like, I feel like we could all agree that everybody should be in therapy, but do you believe, like for musicians especially, like keeping a healthy mental state and space is very necessary for having a good creative space. Or
just going even before the musician part, like definitely, like I recently began therapy like just a year ago, and I met with one person and didn't fit, and then I found the therapist that I'm working with now, and he's a somatic therapist, and we just do over Zoom and stuff. But I mean, it's just there's a stigma around it, and like, oh, like you have problems if you're seeing a therapist, or like you're damaged goods or some shit, like and then it's just so untrue, and it's just like it is unfortunately out of reach for many people, but like when you think about it, it's like I would probably like $80 to $120 on average for a session, and it's like you spend that much on drinks every week, you know what I mean, or like or on weed, or on drugs, or on doing this other things that are so called giving you therapy, but it's like this is like if you really connect with the right person, then like
it's gonna like enhance your quality of
life.
It's
just like it's like showing you how to approach yourself and how you want to approach yourself, and reflecting on yourself, and like and then next, like on a relationship that you want to focus in on. But it's just like just doing homework on yourself, like you go to the gym, you work out, like you're taking care of your body. Like this is like taking care of your your emotional state, your mental state, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like you have to do things, in my opinion, is to take care of your spiritual state too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like there's all these different like sort of houses that you have to like take care of that are part of your being, But definitely, therapy is amazing. I mean, it's definitely I think everybody should experience it some way. It's like we talk to our friends, and that's therapeutic, but I don't want to feel like I'm burdening my friend. And then there are certain things I just don't feel comfortable talking to my friends about.
Yeah.
Mostly I don't want to like talk their ear off and like give them this weight of like, oh, these are all my fucking problems, and like of course, like as a friend, like I want to listen to you and help you out and stuff like that, but like it feels good to just do it for an hour with someone who's trained professionally to be like,
and is getting paid to hear you like that.
Yeah, and then I don't feel bad about dumping all my shit on them, because like I'm paying them too,
Yeah.
But as for musicians, like we think that because we're like doing our thing on stage, and we get to release it all and stuff like that. Like there's other things going on, there's other things in life, and like how you're balancing, and then like that's not even to get into like the party life and atmosphere, which the music life, is so often around, and that's a whole
other weight to
a whole other can of worms, and like being in that lifestyle, maintaining that high after you get off stage, and be like, I feel so high after the show, I need to do drugs to like keep the high going, and then I want to party all night, and then like. And then the next day I need to do it all over again and again, and like all these days in a row, and like it's gonna take a toll. It takes a toll on you,
Wow. Well, to kind of start wrapping it up, what are some things that what are you working on now? Like, do we?
Yeah. Well, so we talked about the launch of the Bttrfly Quintet. I am going, doing some work with Pretty Lights, but it's still TBD. And then I'm preparing to release my solo album, which has gone a lot of different directions, and I wanted to put it out last year, but then feeling these sort of different directions, and a big part of it obviously is your connection with the especially where I am in my career and stuff like that, the connection with the outside world and social media, so like that's such a big part about rolling out a record and just putting out stuff. So I just want to kind of get my bearings about how I want to introduce everything, and be like, okay, here's a little snippet of this, and just get my mind in the right place to want to do that. Like I just took like a several month break from it, and it felt so great, But I understand how powerful of a tool it is, and I want to share, and I want to connect, and I want to share what gift I have with the rest of the world, and I want to do that. And obviously it's got to happen through social media,
Right, yeah.
So, getting my bearings for all that, and really excited to release my first solo record. Like I put out a bunch of records, in different groups, many different groups, and recording with other artists. But finally ready to do my own thing, just to put something out there. But definitely, Break Science is still happening, and then hopefully when Pretty Lights comes back around and we're ready to do that, that'll be happening. And then I play gigs here in town, and I work with all do freelance stuff here and there.
Cute, yeah.
Well, just an artist.
Yeah. I have one side question.
Sure.
Though, when it comes to the social media aspect, is it just hard to find the balance of your personal and posting your work, or what?
It's so invasive, and it's so all over encompassing and overtaking. It's so addicting. It's so it brings so much it could bring so much self-consciousness, and then and self-value based upon what you're seeing, and how many likes or how many comments or all these things, and your human dynamic range is dictated by it. So by cutting by being free from it for a little bit, I was able to reestablish my own dynamic range on my own, just through how I feel life. But it's obviously it's this overwhelming tool that we haven't really gotten a grasp on yet, and just for me, being 42, I used to have a beeper, okay? I didn't, I know what it's like to you'd have to call my voicemail, okay? I didn't have a phone. I'm old enough to know what life was like, where I had to call your house and be like, may I speak to Stephanie, please? You know what I mean? It's just I remember what life was like at that point, before all this stuff, but then, and then I've been able to experience and learn and be inspired by so many things that I've seen on social media, but also have things be convoluted and it be strange from my interpersonal relationships, and then also how I viewed myself, and then also how I felt about my music and all these different things, so taking a step away and then getting back into it and be okay, this is a way to have a healthy relationship with social media, because it's obviously hasn't been taught to any of us.
No.
And it needs to be. And
with this new generation, I think that it needs to be prioritized, therapy and mental health and social media, because there's no they're not going to not do it. So we need to figure out a way to teach kids, here's how to have here's how to have a healthy relationship with this that works for you. I don't know how to do that.
It's just the biggest underlying issue is that it is shaping who you are. You know what I mean? So how much are you going to let it do that? You know what I mean? It's who are you without it? You know what I mean? And how much of who you are is because of that, Yeah. And it's just that's when the shit just gets a little scary. And I'm just you know what? I want to partake in this and share it, but I'm not going to let it just consume it and take up my brain. Right. You know what I mean? And it's just because it's easy to do, and it's easy to fall in there, and it's easy to be I want to know what my friends are up to, but then I also don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm also a little bit older too. I definitely do. I think it's a sin against humanity if you have a gift and you don't share it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh.
And I think it's, I think if you're gifted, if you have a gift, you need to share it. And obviously what better way to share it than social media? You're reaching so many people. Yeah. But it is a slippery slope, because you can it can also fuck you up and invade your brain too much, so just establishing that healthy, and you're only going to do that when you're only going to figure out how to do that when you create space. So take a break, take a day off, take a week off.
Yeah.
If that's possible, I
remember.
Or a few hours, at least, I mean, I definitely at some point I was looking at my Instagram, and it was 7-8 hours a day. I was that was my, and I was this is insane.
Yeah.
So I looked at it, I'm 3-5 minutes a day. I'm wow, this is great. But I want, some days you're going to have to spend more time on it. Obviously through all the careers that we have, it's a necessary part,
Yeah. I remember at summer camp, I was recording a band, and you walked up behind me and you were your story's already long enough, Stephanie.
Oh my God.
I was fuck you.
Sorry, it was a little jab.
No. And you like walked away and I was like, oh, what a horror.
Think about what I said.
I was like, fuck you, Borahm.
I said this intentionally.
I knew it. I was like, what the fuck?
No, it's just like sometimes I want my friends and people around me to like reclaim their lives sometimes a little bit. And, like,
on Saturday, I didn't post anything at all, and Josh.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to judge.
It's fine. But Josh was like, "This is the first day since I've known you that you haven't posted anything," and I was like, "Wow, okay." But I love sharing.
It's amazing. It's just like we just need to create a healthy balance. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. I just want to figure that out for myself, and but it's definitely a part of our world. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the next step is the metaverse now, right?
Oh God.
I mean, that's going to be a part
like
too.
Another thing.
It's another thing. So, but it feels good to get back to the basics and just like chill out and like go to the mountains, go to the ocean, and just like, get back in touch with that shit too. Because it's all part of it. Don't want to neglect anything and don't want to like discard any of it. But I don't want to like leave this other world behind, this natural sort of world and like all,
One thing I forgot to ask you about that is so interesting about you that I don't think a lot of people know is the trading and stuff that you do. Which I know that we don't have a lot of time left, but can you talk about that for a little bit?
Well, the pandemic definitely pushed me to figure out different streams of income. You know what I mean? And my goal is to really be able to separate my art. I mean, obviously, I'm making money from playing music, but not make any musical choices based on money. Which I've had to do. Obviously, but we've all had to take gigs that we didn't really want to do. Maybe to. So trading. I do day trading. So I'm not. There's. All the resources are there to learn online and stuff like that, and it's
what is it?
It's just I do stuff. I was doing some crypto and some people do all kinds of, but I've just kind of narrowed it down to just day trading, stock trading, and I just trade a couple of different stocks that have a high liquidity, which means like a lot of people are trading them, and it's just about sort of pattern recognition and just seeing like when things are going to go up and down, and then just kind of like doing it for the day, and like you could choose to do it for 5 minutes or 1 hour. Or 2 hours, and obviously you can lose money too, but if you educate yourself and you have some experience doing it, then your chances of doing well obviously are much better. You know what I mean? And it's not for all people, and you gotta have to have a sort of like a constitution and be able to do some like risk management and stuff like that. But it can be very liberating. You know what I mean? Instead of me having to like do a bunch of gigs this week that I didn't want to. Like I just like needed to trade just for a little bit and like be able to like whatever make enough money that I needed to for the week. Wow, it's definitely not about being greedy. Of course I would like to, be comfortable and everything like that. It's just more about creating a balance. Because that's a big part of it, and it's just about making a balance in your life. Like just like everything we talked about the social media and stuff like that. Like the minute you start getting greedy and you start doing like that's when things start to get fucked up, whether it's social media or whatever, or relationships or anything. Like, you just want to create a balance where you're feeling, and a balance has to happen every day, not just like, also every week and over the course of a year and throughout your life. But like, definitely like that daily balance is like, it starts there, it's like, you know what, I'm looking at the screen too much. You know what, like I've been sitting here too much. I'm scrolling too much. Like I need to feel a balance, I need to create that so things are flowing,
Oh, okay. I like that. Well, damn.
Yeah. I've been getting into stocks this year. I don't day trade, but like.
Yeah, no, there's so many ways to do it. There's different strategies for everybody. For me, like, if like I hold it, then like I'll be looking at it and I'll get nervous. Like, oh my God, it's going. Like that way day trading, like you kind of in and out. Like you're done with it. Like you're like, you know what? I bought it. I sold it. It's over. Now I'm like, just enjoy my day and like, But then, there's like smart ways to do like the ones that you hold long term, that like you check in like 5 years and like, that's a whole different
That's
vibe.
the goal.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
We'll get you in there.
Yeah.
We have 3 final questions that are not extremely related to the rest of the questions.
Let's
literally
go
not
random.
at all.
Okay, so the first one is, would you rather my God.
Wow.
Every time I bring up my question, I've been messing it up. It's like something else comes out of my mouth.
It's like the universe being like, change them.
Okay. What is your favorite way to cook or eat a potato?
I would say,
He was like,
I mean, you know, it's versatile. No, it's such a versatile thing. I would have to say, probably, you know, like tasty fries, probably. You know, that's just like that's most versatile, and like, you know, you can have it with all this different stuff. You know, it's like you can have like scalloped and all this stuff. It's like too complicated. Just like cut them up and fry them.
Good fucking fry.
Yeah,
fry them.
yeah. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like a baked potato, okay, once in a while. You know,
Yeah.
like, how often?
Everybody says, and I'm like, but when do you do that?
And then you get like
how often?
You like there's like a little piece of aluminum foil that gets like, in a bite. It's like, you know, it'll get fucked up. So let's go with the fries.
Okay, next question. If you could be a gold medalist at any Olympic sport, summer or winter, which one would it be?
That's a great question.
Okay.
I mean, it would have to be an individual sport, probably. You know, even though I love team sports, and you know, so if it's an individual, you know, I like want to think about this for like a long time, but I'm not going to because
I'm like so intrigued.
well, you know, obviously when it comes to the Olympics, you know, like I get like, you know, my national pride on, you know, into like, you know, South Korea, and, you know, so the Koreans are really good at archery. You know, like they're really good at archery, so like they're always, you know.
I did not know that.
That would be a cool one. Maybe like let's just go with that one. You know,
Okay.
I mean, I was gonna say skeet shooting, but I don't even know what that is.
What is that?
It's like you shoot a gun. I'm not in a gun.
Oh, I
So.
thought it was
think
like
you,
skee ball.
No, I think.
Oh no, or no, the other one called the shuffle. The
shuffleboard.
Not shuffleboard. It's like the.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, where they push the thing and then you have to like mop.
Oh.
It's like all about mopping.
Yeah.
Then you have to mop. God.
Okay. And next question.
Last one.
I failed that one. That was really horrible.
Last one is.
Who says archery? It's like.
Well,
You
nobody
are the
asked
first.
before.
You
Yeah.
are the first.
So what do the other guys say? Like weightlifting? It's like
No, everybody
all
says like
gymnasts.
gymnast. Yeah.
gymnast. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like, okay.
Okay, last one. Would you rather smoke weed on the beach or trip on psychedelics in the desert?
Man, that's like I need to do both things. I mean,
Balance.
every day, I definitely need smoke weed on the beach. I mean,
Okay.
but maybe once a year we could do the
Yeah.
you know,
both.
yeah,
That sounds like an
for-
accurate,
yeah,
like
psychedelics in the desert.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dang, this has been good.
We did it, y'all.
We did
I had
it.
a wonderful time. Thanks so much for having me on your awesome podcast.
Yeah,
Thanks. You're
thanks
a
for
great
having
speaker.
me on. Yeah, you
You're
really
great.
shocked me on a lot of stuff, so that was great. Yeah, thanks for coming on, and I guess tell our listeners where they can find you. All the socials.
Yeah, I'm on all the music platforms as Break Science, and soon to be solo as Borahm Lee.
Yeah.
And I'm on Instagram as Borahm Keys. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, is there anything else? Break Science, Borahm Keys.
We'll leave like all the Spotify and Instagram links
Yeah.
down below.
Yeah, we'll link everybody
appreciate
because we
that.
want you guys to hear them. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean, do you want us to practice this exit?
Here I go with the outro, y'all.
Are you guys gonna sing now? Or?
Thank you so much for making it to the end of the episode. It means a lot to us. We're just growing our little world and communities, which is really awesome. And it's really nice to be getting into season 2 like this. If you want to keep up with us online, we're at Oh Here We Go, at Stephanie Parsley, at the Lacey Claire. But again, everything's linked down below. So on that note, we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah, bye. Guys. Thanks.